Hi guys, it's Helen and I'm back again for another week of fun science. Today we're going to do an experiment about absorbing. Absorbing is when one object can soak up the liquid that's put next to it. So just like when you go in the bath and you have a sponge, if you put it in the water goes inside the sponge, it's absorbed, and when you pull it out the bath, all the water stays inside until you squeeze it and it trickles out. That sponge absorbed the water. So we're going to do an experiment today with lots of different objects, and we're going to see which ones do absorb the water and which ones don't. And what we're going to do is make a hypothesis and guess before we do the experiment, and then see what the results are. You ready? Let's see what we'll need. For this experiment, you're going to need a tray with 6 wells in it, or if you don't have that, don't worry, just get 6 little bowls. We're also going to need some water. That's our liquid that we're going to see getting absorbed by some objects, a spoon, and some food colouring. I'll explain why later. And you're also going to need 6 different objects to see which ones absorb the liquid and which ones don't. So try and get a mixture of different things. Here's what I'm going to use. You can copy me or you can try different ones. It's totally up to you. So I'm going to try a biscuit, a tissue or a piece of toilet roll, some paper, a Lego block, a coin, and a sugar cube. So you can find whatever things you would like to try and get them ready, and then we'll start the experiment. Now I mentioned you would need food colouring, and the reason for that is we're going to change our water's colour so it's easier to see if it's been absorbed. When the water, which is transparent and see-through, goes into an object, you might find it hard to see it, but if we put some food colouring in and make it bright, it'll be really easy to see what the results are. So just get a little bit of food colouring and add it to your water. I've gone with bright blue. Perfect. We're almost ready to do our experiment, but as I mentioned before, we're going to make this a bit more scientific today, and we're going to create a hypothesis. Maybe you remember from a few weeks ago, we talked about a hypothesis. And a hypothesis is just your best guess about what might happen in an experiment. So I've made up a table. You can make one the same if you want. And on my table, it says absorbing experiment. And we've got a list for all the different things we're going to use. Our sugar cube, our biscuit, the tissue. We'll list them all down here. And then in this one, it's the hypothesis. So you have to do a tick or a cross to say whether or not you think it will absorb. So if you get an item and you think, yes, it's going to absorb that water, give it a tick. If you think, no, I don't think so, give it a cross. And when you've done them all, we'll then do an experiment. And at the end, we'll be able to put down the results, what actually happened, and see if we got it right or if we got it wrong. But remember, getting it wrong is just as interesting because that leads to more questions. One of the great things about science. Alright guys, I've made my hypothesis about what I think is going to happen, my best guess for this experiment. Let's see. I've put down that the biscuit will absorb water, that's what I think, but the Lego won't. I think the tissue will, but not the coin. The paper, I think it might, but I'm not so sure about the sugar cube. So that's me done my best guess, and let's find out now in the experiment if I was right or wrong. Here's our objects. We've got the biscuit, which is a bit big, so I'm going to break a bit off. There we go. We've got our Lego, right in there. Our tissue, the coin, piece of paper, and the sugar cube. All in the tray and ready to go. So we're going to start with the biscuit. Now I guess that the biscuit would absorb. Let's have a go. I've given that a second to see what will happen. The liquid's in with the biscuit. If the biscuit has turned blue inside, we'll know that it has absorbed that water. Are you ready to try? Oh, it's a bit soggy. Oh, look. That is definitely a blue biscuit. It's really absorbed that water, hasn't it? Yuck. Now the reason I thought that the biscuit would absorb is because when the biscuit goes into your tummy, it has to absorb liquid when you're eating it to get digested. And it definitely has taken that water on board. Can't even pick it up anymore. Next up's our Lego block. So let's try that. There we go. I've put the liquid in. Now there's another way that you can tell that it's absorbed, not just by the water going into the object, but by the water disappearing from the well. So if you see that the water was in the well and then when you lift the object out, there's none left. That means the water must have gone inside the object. But for this object, I'm not so sure. I guessed that it wouldn't absorb because it's made of plastic. And I don't think it has, because look, there's a wee bit on the edge of it, but it hasn't changed colour inside, and there's still loads of blue liquid in the well. So I think that the Lego hasn't, and that's good, because your Lego is a toy that's made to last, and it's made of plastic, which is waterproof. So it would be really bad if your Lego started absorbing water all over the place, wouldn't it? Next up's our tissue. Let's go for it. There we go. I've popped it in. Oh, and immediately, did you see that? The tissue turned bright blue. I don't even think we need to wait for this one. Let's pull it out. Oh, there we go. In fact, it's absorbed all that it can, and it's starting to drip back out. And if we give it a little squeeze, you'll be able to see where that water's gone. Oh, there we go. Fantastic. I had guessed that the tissue would absorb, and it definitely has. And we know that because that's what a tissue's for. It's for absorbing up spills. So, fantastic. The tissue is working. Next up, we've got the coin. Let's give it a try. There's the water on top of the coin. It's a little bit like our experiment from last week with coins again. I don't think this water will clean it though, and it doesn't look like it's absorbing it. I guessed that it wouldn't absorb it, and I think I might have been right on this one, because when I lift this coin out, you can see the water sitting on top. It's not gone inside, and the water still sat there in the tray. Okay, we've got 2 left to go. Paper. Now I guessed that this would absorb. I'm not quite sure though, it seems quite confusing. Let's give it a wee bit of blue. There we go. Fantastic. So let me show you. You can see that this is sitting right on top just now. I wonder if it's absorbing or not. It doesn't look to be disappearing. This one's quite a tricky one. Let's have a look then. We'll pull it out and have a see. Oh, what do you think? There's still some water in the tray, so it doesn't seem to be that absorbent. But if I wipe the excess off, the paper definitely has got some blue in it, and it's started to go a bit wobbly. So the paper, I think it has absorbed some of that liquid, but it wasn't as absorbent as the tissue. Interesting. Now our last one is the sugar cube. Are you ready? Let's pour some blue liquid in. Now let's have a little look. There's still a little puddle there, but definitely that sugar cube has turned blue, hasn't it? Yep, I'm going to lift it out to show you. Oh, there we go. Look at that. It's gone entirely blue, and as I'm holding it, I can feel it dissolving. Oh! So yep, the sugar cube definitely absorbed that liquid. Fantastic. Now I guessed the sugar cube wouldn't absorb the liquid. I thought because it was the shape of a cube, like the Lego block, that it would keep it out. But actually the sugar cube has absorbed, because there must be lots of little holes that lets that liquid soak in, and we could tell it soaked in straight away because it turned bright blue. Well, now the experiment's complete, we've seen which objects absorbed water and which ones didn't. I made my guesses before we started, and now let's compare my guesses, my hypothesis, to the results, what actually happened. So I had said that the biscuit, I'd given it a tick to mean that it would absorb, and it did. So I guessed correctly on that one. And the same for the Lego, I didn't think that would absorb, and it didn't. So that's a cross there. Our tissue did absorb, as I'd thought as well. Oh, I've done quite well guessing. And the coin was a no, exactly. So I got those ones correct. The paper was kind of confusing, wasn't it? It didn't seem to absorb as well as the tissue, but it did absorb a little bit, and it had a tick. So I will give it a tick as well. But the sugar cube, that's where I guessed incorrectly. I didn't think it would absorb because of its shape, but it did. It went blue right away. So that one was a tick. And there's the one where I got it wrong. But remember, in science, it's great to get things wrong because it means more questions. And the more questions you can do, the more fun experiments you get to have. Now that means you can go and find more objects around your house that you want to test to see if they absorb. Just make sure to ask Mum and Dad first before you take anything useful, okay? I hope you've had a great time doing absorbing experiments with me today, and I'll be back next week with even more fun science. So I'll see you soon. Bye!